All right, we are live. It's a little bit later than our normal time. That's my fault. This is literally like 2 days before Thanksgiving right now, and like 4 p.m. I get a message from my boss. It's like, "Hey, can we meet real quick?" And of course, they have something they need to spin around by the end of the day. So finally got that over with. So hopefully, it's all good and ready to go. But we have stuff to talk about. We had a pretty dang good weekend, didn't we, Spencer?
Yeah, pretty good weekend thanks to those Cougs out
Yeah,
in
well, the
Provo.
Cougs, yeah, it was one thing, but man, we made some money this weekend, and we're hopefully continuing. I had a really good day even yesterday with college basketball, and my one bet right now is looking pretty good with Houston. But yeah, you can't complain about this weekend. Lots of crazy stuff happened. We'll kind of dive into it. We'll first start college football, man. This will be a pretty short segment. I mean, nothing too crazy happened. We bet big on BYU. They keep on giving BYU a super short line. I'm definitely not going to bet them this week against UCF because UCF is terrible, and BYU, it's their senior day, last game of the season in Provo at night. I mean, was the line like 14 and a half or something, but still, I don't think
17 and a half.
17. Yeah, that's not a game I have any interest in playing. Yeah, they took care of business in Cincinnati. The line was closed at 2.5 in favor of BYU. That line was way too short. I knew BYU had to win, and if they're going to win, they were definitely going to score as many points as they can. As you can see with the final score being, what was it, 27, like to 10 or something.
I believe it was 27. They won by 12.
Yeah,
26-14.
26-14. I mean, LJ got that last touchdown at the end. LG's a beast. He's leading the Big 12 in rushing yards. And I think he should go to the league next year. I don't think he should come back for his senior season. But once again, they give BYU a super short line. Granted, it's at on the road in Cincinnati. Cincinnati kind of has been falling apart this season. And you guys have guys like Big Cat that are just like, oh, I like Cincinnati because they're just BYU haters. At least we got Provo Dave on our side. But once again, the Cougs kind of prove everyone wrong and get a really good win at Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, talking about that last touchdown by AJ, I think I got a live under 41 and a half, so that still didn't necessarily kill me, or it might have been 44 and a half. So I think they went for two to go up by 2 touchdowns. They still would have been all right. But yeah, I think they talked about it on the broadcast. That was kind of the whole talk about college football playoff rankings, and nobody really knows what the criteria is. They want style points, and they say BYU doesn't blow out teams, or they like take their foot off the gas. So that was kind of a jab to the college football playoff committee, saying, "Hey, if you want us to run up the score, we will." Because he probably could have just slid, within the 5 yard line and ended the game, but go ahead and score and make that final score a lot bigger than just 6 points.
Yeah, so I don't think there's much to say. BYU take care of business at home against UCF. They're going to the Big 12 championship, and I have to look at tickets because I got tickets last year before kind of everything settled out. BYU chokes, loses their last 2 games of the season, and it doesn't even make it to the Big 12 championship. So we kind of have to take a huge loss on those tickets. So I'm really tempted. I think I might pull the trigger and go up to AT&T in Dallas to watch that game. I'm hoping it's a good game. I have no idea what the line is. If I had to guess what the line is right now, I would probably say 6.5, 7.
I mean, the line for the last game, what was it? It was over 10.
It was like 13. It was like 12.5 or something.
Like 10 and a half, 11 and a half.
Yeah.
And they covered it. So
I mean, it was in Lubbock. This is a neutral zone. And granted, I guess you could say, oh, they're more like Tech fans because it's in Texas. But I'd say there's probably equal amount of BYU fans in the DFW area. I mean, I came from there.
yeah, I'd be surprised if it was anything less than 9.5.
Really, you think it's going to be over like it's going to be like 10?
At least 9.5, but
I think
probably
I think it'll be a key number. It's probably going to be like 7 or 7.5, honestly, just to make it over a touchdown. But I think somewhere around that range, and anywhere I think bigger than 10.5, I think is kind of a really big disrespect, and definitely like BYU's play on there because it's a neutral zone, neutral site. So BYU, honestly, their playoff hopes are very slim, knowing the playoff committee, because they're going to take Notre Dame. If everyone takes care of business, I think out of the at large bids, you have Notre Dame that's going to make it 10-2. I mean, sure, you have 2 losses, but I will say like Notre Dame is a heck of a football team, and I'd say they get in over any of the other SEC teams. They just completely dominate everyone they play. And they had single-digit losses to A&M, who's undefeated, and who else was the other one? Miami. Oh yeah, Miami beat them by single digits, which Miami's a different story, which we'll get into. And then you have Ole Miss that will probably get in. They take care of business. OU takes care of business. Of course, Georgia, they're going to go to the title game. It'll be interesting. I don't even know who's going to be in the SEC title game. Probably Georgia and either Ole Miss or Bama, right? Bama only has 1 loss in conference play. So, yeah, that kind of leaves BYU out because you have to give the G5 a spot in there as well. So unless BYU wins the Big 12 championship, I honestly don't think they're in if nothing crazy happens.
Yeah, no, I think assuming Georgia takes care of business against Georgia Tech, it's rivalry week. And then Texas A&M plays Texas. I think they're hosting Texas. It'll be Texas A&M versus Georgia, and even if both teams loses, they'll still get in. So I think we talked about it. The only really way BYU gets in if something crazy like that happens, like an Alabama loses to Auburn, or
yeah. So they kind of have to have things flow their way in a little bit. And even I think it's kind of ridiculous, but people could make the argument for Texas if Texas beats A&M, which I don't think they're going to win. They could potentially get a bid because they just love Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it on a previous episode. If Texas lost to Georgia, their odds are probably slim to none. Yeah, and they didn't just lose; they got killed. So I don't think they're going to be A&M regardless. But
all right, I guess we can.
I get what you're saying with Texas.
Yeah. I guess the only kind of at least champion that's kind of up in the air is still the ACC champion. I don't even know who's in the running. Let me look up the ACC standings right now. I would assume. I mean, Miami has 2 losses, right, in conference play.
Yeah, no, I put it on the agenda just because I feel like there's a lot of different moving parts. Like
There's a
Miami. Miami probably has to have a ton of help just to make
the championship game. Yeah, I don't think they're going to make it.
But I don't know, kind of like the whole Texas sentiment. People love Miami and their losses. Yeah, I guess they're not. They've had good wins, but I mean, they beat Notre Dame to start the season. But I get a loss to Louisville and a loss to SMU. Yeah, I don't understand the sentiment, but the teams ahead of them, Georgia Tech, we're projecting them to lose against Georgia. SMU closes their season out against Cal. That should be a win. Pittsburgh plays. I think they play Miami, so if Miami beats Pittsburgh pretty handily, that helps their case. And I think Virginia plays Virginia Tech rivalry game. Yep. So in order to make the ACC championship game, they need to beat Pittsburgh, and then Virginia needs to lose to Virginia Tech.
Yeah, which Virginia Tech is awful this year, so that's not going to happen. And I'm pretty sure Virginia is home too. So we're in crazier things have happened. It's rivalry week, like you said. But yeah, right here we have the odds of ACC championship, and honestly, it's kind of like wide open. Obviously, you have SMU with the biggest odds, or the favorite, I guess, and because they play Cal. Cal has been pretty mediocre, even though Cal had a pretty good win. I'd say last week. Who they play? I mean, I guess they played Stanford. So I wouldn't say that's necessarily a good one, but yeah, I could definitely see how SMU is the favorite right here because they basically win. I assume there's no tiebreakers, right? Like if anyone, SMU.
Yeah, I mean that's where it gets all like messy because the two losses. I don't exactly know the rules for tiebreakers. I assume head-to-head would be one. So Miami beats Pittsburgh, they'd have that tiebreaker. I think Georgia Tech is no longer really a consideration because, yeah, I mean you can clown me next week if Georgia Tech shocks the world and beats Georgia, but I don't see that happening. So as long as SMU and Virginia, hold serve, they'll only have one conference loss, and Miami will be out.
No, I mean I think Georgia Tech's out because they have 2 losses in conference play.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if they somehow beat Georgia and
then SMU and Virginia lose, and Pitt lose.
Yeah, a lot of things have to go right.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Yeah, so I mean, betting favor right now, SMU. Yeah, I think SMU. I would assume they just have to take care of business against Cal, and actually, I don't know. I feel like the odds would be way higher for SMU if they were just have to win.
Yeah, and we're talking value, like honestly, and I don't know if I will necessarily do it, but you could probably just pick up Pittsburgh, and if they somehow beat Miami, that thing will skyrocket. But even if they don't, if they're just playing them tight, you buy it at 7 cents per share. Sell it at like 12, 10 cents.
Almost
pretty decent return.
Yeah, that could be a move. Well, I'll have to look at more of like the whole tiebreaker situation and all that, but that'd be really interesting because I'm assuming like if Virginia, I don't know how all the tiebreakers, maybe it eventually goes to point differential at that point because I would think if SMU wins, they're in. Well, I guess
Pittsburgh's technically right now above them.
That's true. Sorry, I'm reading this differently. I'm thinking regular season champion. They have to go to the championship game and win. So this takes into account. So I think most likely it looks like SMU and Virginia are both going to go to the championship game and play each other. Oh, and honestly, in that case, like I'd probably take SMU, honestly. But
yeah, I'm looking at the tiebreakers right now. Pittsburgh they need help. They need to either win and have Virginia or SMU lose. If SMU wins, they'll clinch, and Virginia's same thing.
Yeah. So it's probably going to be SMU Virginia championship matchup. Yeah, because Miami needs to win because they, like you said, some people like Miami for some reason. So you guess they're semi kind of in the race for an at-large bid for the playoffs, but essentially they just need
I'm looking at Miami's scenarios, and it's a laundry list of things. So I don't really understand why. At least I know in Cauchy, the percentage of them making the college football playoff isn't high, but on ESPN, their projections of people to make the playoffs percentage-wise, it's a lot higher than Cauchy, which doesn't really make sense, but
yeah. So ACC is a mess. Honestly, I think the ACC is definitely a terrible conference, especially this year. yeah. So anyone who even makes it out into the college football playoffs out of the ACC, I think they're going to get stomped first round. Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean that goes the same way with the American Conference and
same. Yeah, for sure. They
Tulane.
need to expand it to 16 teams, whatever the next expansion is. I think that will make things a lot more interesting and then also make things a lot more enjoyable because even 12 team, you still see a lot of the politics involved based off of conference. So it is what it is. It's college football for you. Let's go ahead and move on to the NBA. First thing I wanted to talk about is James Harden, man. Like he's been balling. Let me get rid of this. I think he's been averaging like 30 plus points in the past like 5 to 10 games, like 30 plus points, 6 or 7 assists a game, similar in rebounds. And this dude's 36. Like he's balling single-handedly. You see all the memes of like when Spider-Man's stopping the train, it's OKC is the train, and then James Harden's like the Spider-Man stopping the train, and right in front of him is like top lottery pick for the Clippers, basically just saving everyone from the dynasty of what the OKC Thunder have built. It's pretty crazy, and I don't think the segment has to be super long, but I think there's a big debate. And obviously, I'm a little bit biased because I'm a big James Harden fan. He's one of my favorite players. I still think top 2 shooting guards, it's MJ is first and then Kobe second. I think there really shouldn't be any debate on that. But third is a big debate because people say Dwayne Wade. And I understand Dwayne Wade, 2-way player in his prime. He was just insane. Finals MVP, 3-time champion. I would kind of argue he did ball out in the finals, but I think this goes back to me being a Mavs fan, maybe obviously biased, but I think that series was kind of in some way stolen from the Mavs a little bit. We eventually got a title, so it's all fine now, but I think that was kind of Shaq's team. Granted, Dwayne Wade did ball out in the finals, averaged like 30 points a game. So he won that finals MVP. But I think Shaq very much dominated that team. And then you go to the Heatles whenever it was LeBron, Wade, and Bosh. And he was really good. He was like very good complementary player. Obviously, that was LeBron's team. They won back-to-back titles. So it kind of goes into your debate, like it's tough because it's like championships versus like stats. And I will agree with people that like 2-way player in their prime, like probably Dwayne Wade, but it goes back to your definition of like who's a better player. Same with like Jordan versus LeBron. LeBron technically has had a better career than Jordan, but Jordan was like most dominant. And even you could say Harden at one point is probably more dominant, at least offensively for sure, than Wade. But obviously you have his defensive flaws that he has. But I think all time, I'd give Harden the slight nudge above Wade. And obviously the championship hurts his legacy a lot, but this dude's just a straight baller.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where in my opinion, your biasism shows. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree that LeBron was the best team on the back-to-back Heatles teams. 06, we were like both 9, 10 years old. But I remember making a bet with my brother. He picked the Mavericks and I picked the Heat. We were playing like ping pong, and I think we're like, if I lose, it's like double or nothing. And I lost, and I was pissed because they were down 2-0. They come back and win in 6, so win 4 straight games. I know there's some conspiracies about, refs calling a lot of fouls in favor of the Heat, but Dwayne Wade just proved it time in and time out. I know Harden has the individual accolade of MVP, but it's really hard to just shake that fact that Harden kind of just chokes in the playoffs when it matters, and Dwayne Wade hasn't. So I would probably pick Dwayne Wade as the third best, and then Harden a close fourth. Then we might have lost Mike right now.
Sorry, technical difficulties. I'm back. But yeah, I think what you said makes sense. So yeah, like I said, I'm biased, but I love to be in the comment sections of any post. So I think there's lots of back and forth, and yeah, it's the whole stats versus rings. I think that's what it ultimately goes down to. Is like Harden doesn't have a ring, Dwayne Wade has 3 and a Finals MVP. So
Yeah, I mean, whether it's like, Peyton Manning, I mean, I hate to say it, there is some argument to be made about Clayton Kershaw. Regular season, I'm trying to win games. I'm trying to put butts in the seats. Harden, like watching him in 2018, 2019 was incredible. The scoring outputs he'd be able to put out. But then, yeah, when the rubber hits the road, you gotta, game slows down, defenses get tighter, you're not getting the calls you used to. We just see, Harden kind of go ghost. That's why he's bounced around the league.
yeah, that's what's tough for him. The CP3 hamstring. Like honestly, I think this would be a way different conversation the other way if obviously this is like a what if scenario, but they beat the legendary Warriors and then they go on and play who was it in the finals? The
Cavs and
yeah, beat
Warriors
the
swept
Cavs.
them.
Yeah. I think this would be definitely a different conversation, but obviously that didn't happen. So
Yeah, because he'd have the hardware, and you can justify all the other,
yeah.
playoff mishaps.
All right, I just wanted to put that little tidbit. Man, the Thunder are saying we were checking the standings earlier, and they're 17-1. And dude, you look at their games, their spreads are insane. But the crazy thing is they cover them, and I don't even know what the stats are behind them. I'll probably say they cover like 60 to 70% of their games. Their spreads are like 16.5, 17.5. And they're blowing teams out. They're up like 25 in like the second, third quarter. So these spreads are insane. Like I can't remember. I guess maybe like I didn't really bet too much back then whenever the Warriors were just dominating. I don't know. I would assume maybe their spreads were similar, but these Thunder spreads are kind of crazy, honestly. I don't know at what point does it get out of hand. I'm looking at like a college football like game instead of an NBA game.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just decided to look it up. They actually aren't covering as many as we maybe think. I know they probably get close, but we're constantly not looking at, did they cover the 15.5, 17.5? They're actually 10-8 against the spread. So I think maybe in the beginning of the season, they were just killing spreads. And then recently we've just been seeing those, as I mentioned, 16.5, 17.5 point spreads that, even if you're blowing out a team, I know Shea hasn't played in maybe at least 7, 8 fourth quarter games. Yeah, the team will, take their foot off the gas, and then you win by 13 instead of 16 or 14.
Yeah, I don't think there's much to say. This Thunder team is legit. Like, we'll just the big thing is if they stay healthy. I mean, they're dominating so far. The crazy thing with them is their role players are just as good as like a lot of these other team starters, and I think that's kind of the way.
I think the craziest thing is Jalen Williams, their second best player, two-way superstar, has yet to play in a game.
Yeah, and they're just dominating teams. They have one loss. Oh man, yeah, this team is crazy. But I guess the big thing, yeah, hopefully they still stay healthy, and the rate they're kind of doing things, they're just blowing teams out in the first half, third quarter, and then these guys are not having to play the fourth quarter. So, yeah, it's pretty insane. They're on pace to finish the season with 4 losses. I want to say if they were to keep up their current pace. Yeah, this team is insane. This is like one of the few times like tanking actually worked for a team. and they have so many like picks where it's like, what do you even do with them? You just have these picks from other teams.
Yeah, I mean, that Paul George trade might go down as the worst trade in NBA history.
I mean, the Luka trade's pretty bad. They're probably pretty comparable, but like to see what like they got Shea and all this stuff that like led to all of these other players on their team. I think like Jalen Williams too was part of the like that pick was that was used to select him. I think was in the Paul George trade.
Yeah, I think the Luka trade is probably the most egregious, but with time and hindsight, they didn't know who Shea was going to be, but they knew he was a talent. But the fact that he's an MVP, they just won a ring, and they're trending towards repeating. And the Clippers are awful this year, unprotected pick, probably projecting to be a top 10, maybe even top 5 pick for Pandemic P.
Oh, Pandemic P. Anyway, we'll go into AD trade. I mean, who knows if he's going to get traded by February? I think he probably would. The thing is, the market is like very slim. Like no one wants AD, and I don't blame them. Like who would want AD at this point? Like Cooper Flagg has played more games as a Maverick than AD has, and AD got traded last year at the trade deadline. So that just says something. I don't know. I think I was watching my guy Coop, my friend Coop. He covers the Mavericks. His dad's actually the Mavs like radio person. And what he said, and I agree with him, is if they really don't see like any appetite for AD in the market, like why would you just trade him for like nuts? So I think they could potentially just keep him. But what was I saying? Yeah, I think there is very much a scenario where they don't trade AD because they're not going to trade him for like 2 picks, like a potential player in like 1 or 2 picks. Like they would never, like I would never make that trade. You might as well just keep him, wait out the season, wait till Kyrie comes back, and then I don't know, kind of see like get a good pick this year, and then see kind of what happens the next year because you still have, I believe, 2 years on his contract.
So, Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think probably 2 years. One of them might be a player option, but he's going to obviously opt
that for sure. Yeah, he's making like what, $40 million or something like that. So, I mean, some of the trade packages I've seen were intriguing. Like the Bulls could potentially come up with a package where it's like involves Kobe White, Nikola Vucevic, Patrick Williams, and then like a couple picks, like first round pick, like and a second round pick, I think. That seems a little bit intriguing. There's one I think looks less intriguing. People saying LaMelo, there was that leak that LaMelo kind of wanted out of Charlotte, like trading LaMelo and I forget who else, a couple young players, and then like several picks, like 2 to 3 first rounders for AD. I don't think that really makes sense. I mean, if you were to get 3 first round picks maybe and LaMelo, but LaMelo has been just as injury prone. He's actually been more injury prone than AD. It's just kind of crazy. So I don't know if I would want that. If anything, I would want like Con Knipple, but they would be idiots to trade him.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. No, I mean the one that sounds most interesting to me that I've heard recently is, Detroit. They're at the top of the Eastern Conference this year, and the East obviously, as we know, is very weak this year with Dame Lillard, Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton all out for the season. Them just pushing all their chips to the table and be like, we're gonna go for it. And I don't think they'd be willing to part ways with Jalen Duran, but package centered around Jaden Ivey, a point
I think,
guard that
yeah.
fits their timeline, and a bunch of other picks and salary fillers to get it done.
Yeah, I think Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson, because Asar's one on Detroit. I think Amen's on Houston. I saw like Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson, and several picks. I think would be intriguing as well. Because like you said, if I were Detroit, I wouldn't trade Jalen Duran either. Like he's your franchise center, and obviously Cade Cunningham is like off the table for sure. That could be intriguing. Especially with kind of what the Mavericks are lacking right now is good guard play. Like Brandon Williams, I love him, but like as a starting point guard, he's a scoring guard. He's good coming off the bench. And you have D'Angelo Russell, who like all about him being a Lakers fan. Those are like good long-term solutions for your point guard. Obviously, you have Kyrie, but he's not going to come back towards the end of the season. So getting someone who can kind of like solidify the backcourt, but then also have something for the future as well, that someone could, once Kyrie like either retires or leaves or whatever, they can fill in that full-time starting like 1 or 2 role.
Yeah, it's definitely. I guess it'll be left to be seen. But obviously, the Nico Harrison trade didn't work out for them. Defense wins championships. They lucked into Cooper Flag. So it's time to shift your team to more of the Cooper Flag timeline.
Yeah, I agree. So definitely trading AD is the move. I think you have to get enough for him to make it worth it, or else like the Luka trade even like go like worse if you sell him for peanuts. Might as well keep him than sell him for nothing. But I agree. Like I think both sides, like AD is going to have to come back and play to show teams that he's like still AD and he can still be a productive player, even though he's like has this like huge history of injuries. He has to show something to kind of hopefully his market value goes up. And I'm all for keeping Kyrie. I have no desire to trade Kyrie whatsoever, because I don't think that necessarily like helps the team at all. I mean, Kyrie's not really going to play much of the season anyway. So I don't think there's any point, unless Kyrie comes from his side to be like, hey, I want to be traded.
Yeah. Anything else you wanted to cover on the NBA front?
We can move on to NFL. Man, this NFL week was crazy. You had that. Who was the Thursday night game? The Pats and what was it?
No, it was Bills Texans.
Bills Texans. Josh Allen, man. We both had the Bills tied, whether it be a parlay or straight up, in both of our bets. That quickly went sideways, and I hedged. I believe Spencer hedged too. I saw the momentum. I'm like, dude, this Houston defense is legit. Allen's just throwing picks left and right, getting sacked. Doesn't really have much of a receiving core to throw to. And obviously they're not going to run the ball, so they're not going to give the ball to James Cook when they're down. So I risked it for the biscuit, hedged, and won my money back on put it on Houston money line. It was like at that time, it was like third quarter, close to the end of the third quarter, I think, and then it was like minus 142, I believe. I got money line for the Texans. They had that crazy play, the 4th and 27 in the fourth quarter, last drive for the Bills to win the game. They were down 5, and they do this like hook and ladder play where they throw it to, who was it, Shavers or someone, and he like pitches it off to Khalil Shakir. He runs all the way the Houston defense is just like, oh, they're like playing super soft coverage, and they're like, they don't tackle the guy, see that it's a fake, like, and he converts, and they legit have a chance to win the game. And luckily, Josh Allen throws a pick at the end. So that was wild. I've never seen anything like that. 4th and 27 converted, and they were on their own 20.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely wild. I didn't personally hedge, but I think I had Bills minus 2.5 under 49.5. And yeah, I thought I was fried on that 4th and 27. They get it. And then maybe I thought I had something else
I
actually.
think you played the under.
Yeah, I played like the under like 55 or something like that. So that was gonna hit for sure. I didn't hedge the Texans per se, but I was like, holy crap! Like I think if they score a touchdown right here, I'll win on both sides. So it wasn't like a complete hedge. And then Josh Allen just throws another pick, and I cover myself, but yeah, rather unfortunate. And
yeah, just the fact that he got down there was insane. Like,
yeah, and I mean, it kind of just shows you. I mean, it looks like the Patriots are going to win the AFC East. I honestly couldn't tell you who I'm going to pick to come out of the AFC. Like NFC, I think it's a 2-horse race. Well, we'll talk about it after on this podcast. But I was going to say Eagles and Rams, but maybe the Rams are becoming the front runner after the Eagles meltdown on Sunday. I don't know if that's a good transition.
Yeah, let's go ahead and transition to that. Like, man, that was the game of the year, I think, so far. Eagles, they just come down and bang, bang, bam, score 3 in a row. Granted, there were some controversial plays, especially the one that they had roughing the kicker, which technically Flournoy, he tipped it with his finger, but they didn't. I guess they don't zoom in that close whenever they do an initial review. They would have to challenge it to look into it further, but you could clearly see from the finger, like he gets a finger on the ball. So if you don't know the rules in NFL, as long as you get some sort of the ball, like it's okay if you land on the kicker or whatever. You just got to get ball first. And so that extends the drive for Philly. They score a touchdown. And then I believe it was Turpin. They hand the ball off to Turpin for some reason in the backfield, and he trips over his own feet, and then he fumbles the ball. And then on the first possession or first drive for the Cowboys, they're on the 50-yard line. They go 4th down. They go for it. They don't get it. Eagles end up scoring on that drive. So 3 straight drives where something kind of went the Eagles' way. They score on all 3 of them. Looked really good. Cowboys looked really bad. But at the very end of the second half, the second quarter, they get a touchdown real quick. So only down 14, but the comeback, they came back. It was wild. Eagles defense looked exactly like the Eagles defense the past 2 weeks, and Dallas's defense looks very much improved, which was directly on my thesis that you get Quentin Williams, he's going to solidify the interior, him and Kenny Clark. Still have Odigizua out there. You still have James Houston on the end. You have a couple other lesser-known edge rushers. That's still kind of a little bit of a weakness for Dallas, in my opinion. But obviously, with Philly having Lane Johnson out, Cam Jurgens was back as center, which was good for the Philly O-line. But injuries on their O-line, couldn't get a run game established. I think Saquon finished with 22 yards rushing or something. Couldn't run the ball. Jalen Hurts had some nice throws in the beginning, kind of when he had the momentum on his side, good field position. But once he gets in those 3rd and long throws, he's not very good. And you clearly saw that. And you had a couple fumbles happen, a muffed punt, and the Cowboys are in the game, and you have George Pickens that just goes absolutely nuclear. I'm still mad for Spencer's brother not trading me George Pickens, but what a comeback. And then you have, of course, Butter Aubrey seal the game with the game-winning field goal at the end. Philly scored 0 points the second half. And the crazy thing was I played Philly team total under 26.5 at the beginning, but before the game started. I'm like, Eagles offense sucks. Dallas' defense is much improved, but also, do I trust Dallas to cover like the 3.5? Like, it ended up closing actually at 3. So I'm like, I need more than 3, maybe a 4 to possibly go on the Cowboys side. I grabbed it at half. They were down 21-7. The line was plus 13.5. I ended up grabbing it, and that was a really good bet. So I won the plus 13.5, and then the Eagles didn't score a point the second half. Ended with only 21 points. So I cashed that one too. But what a game.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it just continues my thesis or my thought process that, Jalen Hurts, the Eagles are kind of winning in spite of Jalen Hurts. Like, I'm not saying he's an awful player, but, last year, what they go 15-2, and Saquon had one of the best running back seasons of the year. You constantly, and I know they lost their offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, to the Saints, but you just watch some of their games. Like, I mean, when we were in Vegas 2 Sundays ago playing Sunday Night Football against the Detroit Lions. Yeah, they handled the Detroit Lions, but it was such an ugly game because they were getting after Goff, and then the Eagles couldn't do anything, so it was just a punt fest. And I think the game ended at 16 or 16-9, 16-6.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, just a really awful game, and we've seen countless games from the Eagles. Yeah, I mean, with that in mind, if you had me pick, I think the Rams are going to go to the Super Bowl. Like, I think as long as they have home field advantage and aren't having to play in Philly in that theoretical NFC conference game, I think they should win.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we can kind of go straight to, the Rams are the real deal. They should be favorites to win the Super Bowl. Both of us place Matthew Stafford's an MVP right now. Like, barring some sort of crazy thing happening, it was kind of him and Drake May kind of in the hunt. Drake Gay, sorry, I said Drake Gay. Drake May had an okay showing against a really bad Cincinnati team. He couldn't put it in the end zone when he needed it to. So Matthew Stafford, he has 2 picks for the entire year, but 19 touchdowns, 2 picks.
30
touchdowns, 2 picks. Yeah, he's by far the MVP, and we smashed on Kalshi. It was that 64%, 65, 64%. We smashed Matthew Stafford to win the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like I said, 30-2 interception to touchdown ratio. I remember Rodgers may have ended one of his seasons as the MVP, like a 36-3. The dude already has 30 touchdowns, and we're 11 games in. So, and the rest of his schedule, I think he plays the Cardinals twice. I'm just going to pull it up.
They have a very favorable schedule too.
Yeah, he plays the Cardinals twice, the Falcons,
and Panthers.
And the Panthers next week. His 2 tough games are home against the Lions and then at the Seahawks, which the Seahawks do have a good defense. But
and to be fair, the Lions honestly haven't looked good. We both think they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, we hammered that, and I feel pretty confident in it, and the line's continuously going up. So, Go Matt Stafford.
Yeah, because I mean, closest guy, you'd say Drake May, unless the Rams had a monumental fall off.
Drake May in a distant third, Jonathan Taylor, but Jonathan Taylor had 65 rushing yards against Kansas City this week, and it's a quarterback award unless you have an anomaly season, which he was on pace for, but Matt Stafford's out of this world right now.
Yeah, I agree. And there's lots of people that debate most valuable player. Jonathan Taylor most likely will win the offensive player of the year, but most valuable.
JSN
is up there too, man. That guy's insane. And I watched the trade.
JSN is on pace for over 2,000 receiving yards to break Megatron's all-time receiving yards record.
And the thing
in a
is,
season.
like the defenses know exactly what's going to happen. Yet they still get the ball to him, which is insane. The trade that made this all happen was DK to the Steelers, because then that freed up JSN to be the number one in Seattle. Not only did that trade open up JSN to get unleashed in Seattle, but it also allowed the Cowboys to trade for Pickens, who's having a career season as well.
Yeah, I saw a video on that huge domino effect. JSN, I mean, I'd seen him, and I actually have him on my other fantasy team. I just picked him because I needed a wide receiver, but I think he's had decent seasons, maybe like 1,000 yards, but nothing flashy. I'm like he's the number one option on Seattle. Like, let's just do it. And I lucked into a gold mine. Like you said, JSN becomes the number one option. Pittsburgh's like, okay, we don't need the head case George Pickens. And I've had George Pickens on my other fantasy teams before. He has all the talent in the world, but he probably averages 1 to 2 crash outs a game. And I guess he's been able to keep a level head in Dallas. And this year, I think he's been their number one receiver by far.
I agree. Yeah. Well, just him and CD, because like think about it, like in Pittsburgh, like he was like the number one guy, and like yeah, I think this year for sure Pickens is the number one guy as far as like Dak throwing the ball to him, but like in reality, they're kind of like 1A, 1B, him and CD. And I think they're both like very similar players. They probably like similar stuff. They were caught like in Vegas when we went to the game before the night before the game. They're like caught like past curfew, like hanging out with each other and stuff. And like I think it seems like they're genuinely friends. So I think Jerry Jones knows what he needs to do, re-sign Pickens. And like I said, I think they need to draft LJ Martin in the draft next year. But anyway, that goes into another topic we're probably not going to discuss today. But yeah, dude, it's crazy how like one single trade, and the Steelers got like the worst of it, honestly.
Yeah, I mean they have.
To be fair, they have Aaron Rodgers in there. Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph. So I mean, honestly, I think Dak is probably one of the probably like as far as throwing quarterbacks, probably top 5 in the NFL. So I mean, having like a really good quarterback that will throw you the ball it helps a lot.
Yeah, most definitely. I don't know if you wanted to recap anything or maybe just talk about, these 3 Thursday Thanksgiving games.
Yeah, well, we can go into that. I'll just go like real quick, like 1 minute through college basketball. We have Feast Week happening this week. I went 5-0 yesterday on college basketball, hoping to continue that streak tonight. Houston has to come out for me and solidify that. But yeah, I think Big 12 is the best conference in the nation, as we've seen so far. SEC is debatable. They were better last year than the Big 12, but definitely this year, I think the Big 12 is the big dogs as far as conferences. And you see, I think 5 to 6 teams in the Big 12 in the NCAA tournament come March. BYU handled themselves against Wisconsin. Granted, it was basically a home game being in Salt Lake, but 30, that's actually ridiculous. And then Houston's doing their thing. Iowa State has been doing their thing. So, yeah, there's a lot of really good teams that are coming out of the Big 12. Best freshmen, we probably won't go into this, but this draft is loaded. Lots of really good freshmen. AJ Jabanta on BYU. You have Cam Boozer on Duke. You'll have Darren Peterson, who's actually hurt. He's been out the past like 5 or 6 games for the Kansas Jayhawks. I honestly really like the Kansas Jayhawks even without Peterson. So look for it as far as like betting wise. But yeah, lots of really, really talented Caleb Wilson on UNC. So this draft is loaded. It's debatable kind of who's better. Like, I don't know. At this point, I'm definitely biased, so I'm going to say AJ's better, but I'd say him and Cam Boozer are definitely like – I'd say Caleb Wilson as well. Caleb Wilson kind of doesn't get enough credit that a lot of these other players are getting. But I think he's one of the probably most dynamic players, being like 6'11". He can guard like 1 through 5, and he can shoot the ball. He can pass the ball. He can rebound. He is pretty skinny, so it is what it is. But there's a lot of really good freshmen. So that's my spiel on college basketball. And we can move on to like NFL look aheads.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go through the whole slate or just Thursday, Friday, and then 1 or 2 Sunday games. But yeah, NFL has been cooking for Thanksgiving games, especially of late. We saw them take over Christmas 1 or 2 years ago because now they're just saying screw it. People are gonna watch. You know, um, Denver Broncos versus the New York Giants more than like Lakers Celtics, like just because people love football. But they definitely cooked this year. First game of the day is Green Bay at Detroit. The line is 2.5 in favor of Detroit. This is a huge game for playoff implications, just like we talked about, Mike. Detroit eked out a win in overtime against famous Jameis and the New York Giants. And Green Bay kind of just handled 9. JJ McCarthy's
so bad.
JJ McCarthy's alter ego. But who do you like in that one?
Man, I think the Lions have been absolutely dreadful. But I can't say necessarily like great things about the Packers either. Obviously, we saw that game against Jameis. Honestly, at this point, I'd say maybe it's like the Giants have a better offense with Jameis than Jordan Love with the Packers. But obviously, the defense is a whole different story. I mean, even the Giants' defense is pretty serviceable for sure. They have an awesome D line to pressure the ball, which obviously you can see Jared Goff doesn't like. But then you have 11 from heaven, Micah Parsons on the other end of that. That's going to be rushing and pressuring Jared Goff on Thanksgiving Day. So I think this is like a coin flip game. So I think the line is pretty justifiable, being the Lions only 2.5, them just being at home. I think the Lions really do need like a statement win, but I don't know. I kind of like the Packers in this. I would have to see kind of the receivers available because I know I believe Josh Jacobs is probably going to be back this week. So having Josh Jacobs back,
I mean, his backup balled out.
Yeah, Emmanuel Wilson for sure. But like they were playing the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings actually have a pretty serviceable defense as well, but still,
they're just handcuffed with 9, right?
Yeah, exactly. When your defense is on the field the whole game, like it doesn't help you. Yeah, Emmanuel Wilson's a good backup, but you have Josh Jacobs. I would have to see what the line is like. I don't know what the injuries. I haven't brushed up on that so far. I need to. If the Packers, I know they had a couple linemen now. If they have those guys back, I don't know. I kind of like the Packers on this one. I think the Packers have definitely the better defense. And then Lions offense. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is sensational. Like, it's insane. Like, that guy's so good. He's so fast. Man. Like, I saw him break off, like, the runs, 2 runs against the Giants. I bet the Lions live on that one. He secured the win for us. But that guy's so fast. They're so dynamic. And they have the receivers. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, but if Jared Goff gets pressured, this Lions line hasn't been as good as a season or 2 ago. I know they've been dealing with a couple injuries here and there, but I think I'd like to rely on the Packers defense a little bit more than the Lions defense. Lions offense, I think, is better than the Packers offense, but I don't know. I kind of like the Packers in this one.
Yeah, no, I think your analysis was right on the money. It's somewhat of a toss-up game. I like Detroit to bounce back, but if you do like Green Bay, I think it will be tight, and maybe you just tease that line up to 3.5, and Detroit wins on a field goal. The game after that is another game that you're very interested in. The Kansas City Chiefs visit the Dallas Cowboys, and the Chiefs are only favored by 3 points in this game.
I know. No, I've hoped that, because what I've heard a lot of people say is Chiefs have been getting very like game day money coming in. So I'm really hoping that they get more game day money. So hopefully this line goes up to like 3.5, possibly 4 4.5 would be perfect. I think it'll probably end up closing around 3.5. But
that analysis so far has been wrong because the line opened up at 4.5, and now
no,
it's down
exactly.
to 3.
No, I'm talking about game day. So the day of the game, Kansas City this past several weeks have been getting a lot of money in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think if they lost against the Colts, their season was probably over. I think now they have momentum. Even that Colts game, I was just talking with my dad, and I was like, they shouldn't have won that game. It was 20-9 going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And yeah, Danny Dimes just couldn't close the door. I mean, people wanted to kill him because on the 4th and 5, they decided to punt, give Patrick Mahomes the ball back as opposed to, going for it. A field goal would have tied the game, and they're around the midfield, but it was just like, you're 9-2. Like, this is your opportunity to like put the nail in the coffin for the Kansas City Chiefs, and you played it safe. So I would probably agree with that. I wish they would have gone for it. They have an incredible offense. Shane Steichen is a great offensive mind. But, yeah, I'm probably going to take the Cowboys. The Chiefs at -3. And Cowboys prove me wrong because he proved me wrong the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I will say I think the play for this game, I would like to play the Cowboys again because Cowboys at home always play really well. Playing from our boy Marshawn, RIP. But I think the play in this game, honestly, that's better than picking a side is the under. You have obviously a Cowboys defense that has greatly improved. We've seen that time after time. I think they keep on getting discounted because of how they started earlier on the season before they got Quinnen Williams. So I think their defense is definitely underrated as far as it's priced. And granted, the Chiefs' offense is really good, but we saw them only score 23 points in overtime, including in overtime, against the Colts, which the Colts have a really good defense as well. I think they have a little bit better pressure than the Cowboys. But as far as honestly, the Chiefs don't really have that much of a run offense, to be honest. So they're probably going to be throwing the majority of the game. So that might put a little wrinkle and stuff. But I think Cowboys secondary and the linebacking core is a lot better as well. So I think the play is the under here, 52.5.
Yeah, no, that's a big number. And the Chiefs and even Dallas with their high-powered offense have not been scoring.
Yeah, Chiefs defense is good too. Like they held Indy to 20.
Yeah. Last game on Thanksgiving, Cincinnati at Baltimore. The projected return of Joe Burrow. Baltimore is favored by 7 points. Line is 52.5.
Yeah, I mean, that line is very indicative. I'm hoping if they officially rule Joe Burrow in, takes a lot more like Bengals money. So then I can just put it on the Ravens and take their money because Joe Burrow off of any quarterback right off of an injury, I'm very skeptical of it. I've always ever since. I mean, he had a career season a couple years ago, but there's a reason why on my fantasy team I drafted Joe Burrow and I was high on him, but after he got a couple injuries, I ended up trading him, and that trade ended up working out really well for me. And just because he hasn't been available, and even when he has been, granted, he has the best receiver. You got second best receiver. I think JSN's the best receiver this year. Second best receiver in the league, and Jamar Chase. But their defense is so bad. So you're banking on the Bengals' offense to be extremely good again, and their defense to play like they did last week, which was very surprising. But the thing is, you got to trust Lamar, and Lamar has been playing like doo-doo recently. He's on my fantasy team right now, and he's not doing me any favors. But I would like an opportunity to fade Joe Burrow with his first game back in Baltimore.
Yeah, I can't deny that logic, but kind of the same thing with Detroit, Baltimore. They played the Jets this last weekend. They both were, near 14-point favorites. and Baltimore kind of screwed around with the Jets. I know it was in New York, but people are just wondering, like, is Lamar hurt? Can he even run? Because he just hasn't been the dual threat quarterback that we have known him to be. And Derrick Henry is showing his age, and their wide receiver core has never been incredible. I don't know if it gets over 7.5, I would probably take Cincinnati. Bounce back Joe Burrow. Like,
do you really think it's going to close more in favor of the Ravens if Joe Burrow's ruled in?
Or maybe just a live line, Baltimore scores first, and you grab Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I think that would be probably more of the move.
Yeah. The rest of the Sunday slate is not amazing, but I am super interested in this Black Friday game. Chicago visits Philadelphia. I know we talked about the Lions and skepticism of them making the playoffs. I am very, very bearish on the Chicago Bears making the playoffs. I know they're 8-3 right now, but I think we may have talked about it on the last episode, but they have a gauntlet of a schedule coming up. And Philly just had that meltdown loss to the Cowboys. I love Philadelphia here.
Yeah, I do as well. Even with the state of their offense, it's terrible. The defense is still pretty good, but things to watch out for. They had a number of injuries last week against Dallas. Towards the end of the game, you had Reed Blankenship who kind of went down with a little bit gimpy on his leg. I don't think he played the rest of the game. So I would want him definitely to be back in, but I think Eagles defense is still really good. Their line is really good. The Bears, they've just had and you can't really count against them, I guess, too much. I mean, they've had a relatively easy schedule up until this point, and then now they kind of, like Spencer said, they kind of hit a gauntlet towards the end of the season where they could potentially only win like one or two games the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, I mean,
into the season.
They start the season 0-2, and they beat the Cowboys. They beat my Raiders because they blocked a field goal. Eked out a win against the Command. All their wins have just been eking it out. Like, yeah, they beat the Saints. We know who the Saints are. They lost to who was quarterback in that game? They lost to the backup for the Ravens. I don't even know his name. It wasn't Tyler Huntley. It was it was Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
They lost to Tyler Huntley, the Ravens. Beat the Bengals in a shootout with Joe Burrow. Beat the Giants. Beat the Vikings. Beat the Steelers. And the rest of their schedule is at Eagles, at Green Bay, home against the Browns, who the Browns defense is no out. So if they don't come to play, Shadeur might cook them. Then at home against the Packers, on the road against the 49ers, and at home against the Lions.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying this could be the start of their epic collapse from 8-3 to 9-8, 8-9, missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
I agree. Yeah, the NFC North division is a gauntlet. Like, I think most likely Green Bay is going to win that division. And they would have to win games in order to get a wild card bid.
Yep. I don't have anything else to cover. I mean, we can just quickly say that I am still killing Mike in the wins-losses NBA draft.
Yeah.
I think the total is up to 33 point difference, and I just estimated to keep growing. So
yeah, dude, he chose very well in the fact of picking the Wizards, the Pacers, and the Pelicans, who have combined, I want to say, 4 wins between those 3 teams?
Yeah, something like that.
4 wins and all the rest losses. So that's like, 40-something points right there and for his losses.
Pelicans, Wizards, Pacers each have 15 losses.
Yeah,
so
like 45. Whew, that's tough to win by. Obviously, the Thunder are kind of holding me up. I think my thesis on Milwaukee is still correct. It's just going to have a little bit. I mean, they have a losing record right now. I believe they're 2 games or 3 games under 500. So I think Giannis being out absolutely helps. It shows like how bad of a team they are. Giannis, I know is eventually going to get pissed. I still think he's probably going to get traded sometime before the deadline because he's just not going to like his situation in Milwaukee. Like Miles Turner has been sucking. He's on my fantasy basketball team and he sucks. He like averages like 10 points a game. I'm like on a team that doesn't have any scoring, like their like rookie or first year guard Ryan Rollins is like probably their second like leading scorer on the team. Like that's very troublesome if you're a team, especially one wanting to compete for a championship like Giannis wants to. So I think my thesis for that is right. The ones I've been wrong on definitely have been the Heat. The Heat are actually playing very well this year. I was hoping they would have a little bit slower start with Tyler Hero out, and now with Tyler Hero's back, and Heat culture, that was a bad bet. And then the Raptors all of a sudden are really good. I still don't. I mean, they have some nice players. They have Scotty Barnes. They have Brandon Ingram. But I guess I kind of flip-flopped like the Celtics not being that good. I thought the Celtics were going to play a little bit better with Jaylen Brown being the lead guy than they have been. So I think I might have flip-flopped those. But it's still early on. But the thing is, I mean, the Spencer, like if these teams are truly doing what they're doing just to tank and to get a top draft pick, like I think he pretty much has it in the bag, having like 4 or 5 of the top 10 losing teams in the league. Like, I don't think I really have a chance if they continue on their trajectory of like winning like 1 in every 20 games.
Yep. Well, we'll give you an update every single week, but I think that's all I got.
Yeah. All right. We'll see y'all later. I will continue posting clips from our podcast. You will follow us on Instagram. Follow me on X at Nico_Riggs. And update for next time. Hopefully I'll have a better setup. Hopefully I'll have a TV. But as you can see here, I got one of these little ticker things. I have another one. It's supposed to come today. It's 5 feet long, but it's supposed to come in tomorrow for some reason. So I'm going to have a whole setup. I'm going to have like a freaking 100-inch TV on the wall. I'm going to have these tickers. Dude, it's going to be sick. Like I'll have to do like a little tour next time after everything's set up. But I'm investing heavily into my crib.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
All right. Catch y'all later.